How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the One Stop Podcast. We've been out for a week, but now we're back. Hope everyone enjoyed their 4th of July. The NBA Finals are finally set. But first, before we go into that, we're going to talk about the Bucks and the Hawks Game 6 right now. And the first thing that popped out of mind is Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton stepping up without Giannis. What do you guys' thoughts about that?
Well, Chris Middleton had to step up, and I think everyone knew that. I mean, he's supposed to be the number 2 guy in Milwaukee, and he's kind of the closer for Milwaukee, so that was expected. I think Drew Holiday, I think we kind of talked about it, that we expected him to play well against the Hawks because he may be able to get his way against Trae Young, especially defensively. I mean, that's what Budenholzer and all Bucks fans want to see, is all the guys stepping up when Giannis is out. And then hopefully for them, Giannis comes back soon, which I don't know if he will.
Yeah, I think that third quarter between Middleton and Drew Holiday was something the Bucks needed, and it was crazy to watch. I mean, they just weren't missing. I mean, Holiday was hitting threes from like 3 or 4 feet behind the 3-point line. Chris Middleton at one point was outscoring the Hawks for the entire quarter. So, kudos to the Hawks, honestly. It was a great season for them. But sometimes when players just get it going, you can't do anything about it. And I think that was the case in Game 6. I mean, those 2 guys in the third quarter, they just caught fire, and there's nothing really the Hawks could do.
Right. Yep. Honestly, Chris Middleton, he has in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest NBA stories thus far, coming from the D League to becoming an all-star to leading the Bucks to the final. I'm not saying leading like he did it the entire way, but when their superstar was out with injury, he stepped up his game. He took those extra possessions that Giannis would take, and he took advantage of that, scoring more points or play for the teammates. So Chris Middleton, with all the eyes on him, he stepped up big because many people were wondering if Chris Middleton was a viable number 2 after struggling for multiple games. He'd have an off game and an on game. But I think he silenced all those critics when he had that 20-point fourth quarter in game 3, right? I want to say. Or it was game 3 or game 4 when he had that 20-point fourth quarter in Atlanta. So Drew Holiday's finally playing like the all-star that we haven't seen since New Orleans, because Drew Holiday also been struggling, and I'm not sure if it's a fit-wise or if now that Giannis is out, the floor is more open. But whatever it is, these two have been taking advantage of the opportunity, and salute to them. But let's talk about them benefiting without Giannis. And I hate to say that. Do you think they play better without Giannis? Because if you take a superstar away from any team, it's going to hurt them in the end. But what do you guys think about this?
I mean, you can't really say they played better without him because he was 2-time MVP. But of course, when a good team loses their best guy, they're going to adjust and they're not going to be like a bad team, because this team isn't just Giannis. Like, they do have other all-stars. So they played differently without him for sure, because he doesn't touch the ball every possession, which he usually does. They utilize more people. I think Bobby Portis was a big part of them. He came in as the power forward, and he played well both games that he started. So they just played different. I don't think you can say they benefit without him. Of course, they're going to be counting the minutes till he comes back, but they're not like a toss-away team without him either.
Yeah, I think that's how I would put it. I would probably just say that it was more of a different look and a different play style, because obviously when you have Giannis, he's got one mindset, and that's attack, go to the rim, get to the foul line, get buckets. But when he's off the floor and obviously not in the lineup, you have to change your play style, and that opens up the floor for Chris Middleton to be the number 1 option and take more jump shots, make those plays, and for Drew Holiday to be more aggressive. There's more shots to go around when Giannis isn't on the floor. So I wouldn't say it's a benefit, like Michael said. I think it's more of just like it's just a different look for the Bucks. And The main reason I wouldn't say they're benefiting is because you miss his defense. I mean, that's one of the biggest pluses of Giannis. So I think offensively, what Giannis brings, yeah, he can't shoot, but there's no questioning that he's an offensive threat. And then defensively too, you miss that a lot. So it was good for the Bucks to be able to show that they can still win games without him. And we don't know if he's going to be ready for the first game or maybe even the second game of the finals. So maybe these games were important, but I think they're going to be waiting on him to come back. So they're going to need him soon.
I think without Giannis in the lineup, like I said earlier, there's more shots going around, and when the most shots are going around, generally players seem like to feel better and play better amongst each other just because they have more opportunity. Whereas if Giannis was there, how many shots does Giannis take around a game? Like around 15 to 20. You take you divide those shot attempts from like everyone, and you're gonna get Chris Middleton's gonna get an extra 5 shots. Drew Holiday gonna get an extra 5 shots. PJ Tucker's gonna benefit. Look at Bobby Portis and also Brook Lopez. I think Brook Lopez is the one who's benefited the most out of this because look at him now. He's finally stepping in the paint. He's going back to his bread and butter when he was in Brooklyn. And I think I think with Giannis in the field, like on the court, Giannis is generally like they play that in and out through Giannis the interior because he can't shoot, whereas Brook Lopez can. But now it's the opposite way around, where Brook Lopez is playing inside and Bobby Portis is playing out. So I think they do miss him, and I think I wouldn't expect them to say like, oh, like we can do this without him because that's a superstar, that's a 2-time MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. But I think without him, they're not afraid either, and that's a benefit in my opinion. Hopefully he comes back healthy because these finals are going to be something special in my opinion. Now let's take it back. Let's take it to the Hawks' point of view. On a scale of 1 to 10, how successful was the season for Atlanta?
I think it's pretty obviously a 10. I mean, I guess if you go back to the beginning of the season, to kind of decide how successful it is, you have to think about where you expected them to go. Personally, I didn't expect the Hawks maybe first round exit. So I think a conference finals loss, it has to be successful. This hurt them in no way because they probably weren't going to get a high draft pick because they were already a better team than that. So they may as well just go as far as they can in the playoffs, possibly become a destination for free agents, just develop their young guys more. I think it would have been even more. I mean, it would have been a different series if they had DeAndre Hunter, especially for defense. But just like with the Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, with John Collins, it's kind of solidified that they can do this. So if they can add another piece, they can maybe take it to the next step. So I mean, I think it has to be a 10.
Yeah, I'm with you, Michael. The only reason I wouldn't say 10, I'd say like 9.5, is because if you ask a coach, they'll be like, well, we didn't accomplish our goal of winning a championship. But from an overall perspective, yeah, it's got to be a 9, a 10 up there because I don't think anybody would have expected the Hawks to do what they did. And it's not even just getting to the conference finals, it's beating the teams that they beat. I mean, the Knicks, that was another big shocker, but I don't think many people had them winning that series. I don't think anybody really had them beating the Sixers. And then to take the Bucks to 6 games. Now, of course, I did have them in 6. So, yeah, if y'all want to go ahead and because like I said, if I was wrong about that, I would let y'all have your moment. But
it was close. Hey, it was close. I
think you just jinxed them. I think you jinxed them.
Honestly, I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, I really might have jinxed these guys. But no, I mean, you've got to be happy with the season. And I think the big thing you said, Mike, was that it becomes a destination now. Players will definitely want to be playing with Trae Young. John Collins definitely upped his market value. All these guys, like Atlanta is a desirable destination now for free agents. Now, I'm not saying anybody big is going to go there this offseason. Probably not, honestly. We probably won't see a huge move to Atlanta. But to be able to do what they did this year, somebody's got to be thinking, a guy that's trying to prove it and get his career to the next level and win a game, they've got to be looking at that spot like that's a legacy builder. That's a place I could go and solidify myself. So a fantastic season for Atlanta. If you're a Hawks fan, it hurts that you're close, but you've just got to be really happy with where it ended. So, and the biggest thing, Trae Young, he's in that superstar conversation now, 100%. Great season for the Hawks.
Yeah, I give the Hawks season about same thing around you, probably about 9.5, 10, within that range. I didn't have high expectations for the Hawks, but I did have them as a playoff team coming into the season. When you add like a Boyan or a Bogdan, one of the Bogdanoviches, I don't know which was which. When you add Zach Bogdan, all right. When you had that guy, when you had Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's a lethal shooting guard, I think one of the best shooting guards in the league, like it's underrated. When you had him, Danilo Gallinari, Clint Capella from last season, Trae Young. When you have like these pieces, when you finally have a core, I think you're expected to go to the playoffs, especially with that. And when they were under 500 at one point in the beginning of the season, they were underperforming. But once they made that head coaching change to Nick McMillan, that's when they skyrocketed forward. And I'm expecting Nick McMillan to get a big time contract from the Hawks this offseason, at least a 4-year deal or 3-year deal, because they look like they wanted to play under McMillan. And I loved his adjustments that he made during each series, whether it was the Knicks with the Sixers when they went to hack a bend. Even though that's a tedious move, you're here to win ball games, and that's exactly what he did. And with how he played with Trae Young in the Bucks series in the conference finals, I think Nick McMillan is going to get a great contract with the Hawks. I think the Hawks had a great season. Like you said, Michael, it is a viable destination. And like you said, it's going to take one guy to come there that says this is a legacy builder. I'll team up with Trae and let's both fix our legacy. Let's bring the championship. Let's bring the first championship here to Atlanta since what, like the 1960s, I think, 1950s.
It'd technically be the first in Atlanta because I think they were the St. Louis Hawks back then.
All right, yeah. So the first one in the Hawks history, and who wouldn't want that to their legacy? We're about to see Giannis. We're about to see Chris Paul go for theirs, and with the Bucks, first one since 1971, I think, and the first one in Phoenix history. So I give it's a 9.5 to a 10.
Yeah.
And now to my next question: what's the next step for the Hawks then? Since we saw them reach not the pinnacle, but the cusp of it. So what are our expectations for next season?
Well, now I think it's going to kind of be like the Heat from last year because the Heat got to the finals, so everyone expects them to get to the finals again. So I think anything less than conference finals again will kind of be seen as a disappointment for the Hawks. So, I mean, they're kind of this is like going to be a tough year for them because this year it was just, we're just surprising everyone. Surprise, surprise, surprise. We're in the conference finals. But now people have seen it. They're not going to, I'm not saying they take the Hawks lightly ever, but they're definitely not going to do that now. So I think it's going to be a tough year. I mean, I honestly don't expect them to get to the finals next year. I think other East teams will get better than them. So I think by that standard, it could be a bit of a failed season for them, a disappointing season.
Yeah, I would say, and I think the biggest thing for the Hawks is that they need to stay humble because I think, like you said, Mike, it's kind of like the Heat. The Heat got hot at the right time. They found their groove as a team, and they were able to get to the finals. And then the Hawks, who knows, if Trae Young doesn't get injured, maybe they're able to win Game 5 with a healthier Trae Young and maybe steal Game 6 too. So we don't know. Obviously, Giannis got hurt too, but a lot of different things that could have happened. So I would say that the Hawks, at the very minimum, should try and get back at least to the second round, and I think they can do that. I don't think that's unrealistic to say. I would say at least the second round in the playoffs next year should be the goal. Obviously, you never want to settle for a second round appearance and then call it a year. you're going for championships. But I think that's the bar you have to at least meet to keep yourself in the contender conversation, the real threats of the East conversation. So it's got to be that. But in terms of what's next, they just need to get another option, because this team shows they can win behind Trae Young, but they have to get another piece. They need one more guy who's really gonna bring something to their team. Defensively, I would think would be a big help. A good on-ball defender, or a because they've already got a great paint defender in Clint Capella. So a great on-ball defender, somebody who can score the basket for Trae as a second option, someone like that can put them in that next tier, because we already know the East is stacked. So they're going to need another guy.
I'm not entirely sure they really need another piece. I mean, they're missing DeAndre Hunter, who's he's a great young talent himself. Not great, but he's good enough, I would say. That wing defender that you're talking about, DeAndre Hunter was that guy, that 3-and-D type player. And just think about it, he's getting another year of experience. I think as long as they keep that core together and they just keep building chemistry, the sky's the limit for this team, especially with how young they are and now they have the experience. I would compare them to like how the Celtics are built in a sense that the Celtics were young and they got to the conference finals. Now it's all about now their goal is just not to digress, not to go backwards, because some teams, once you get to the top, you're not complacent, but you're satisfied and you stay there, or you never go back. That hunger just goes away. Hopefully with the Hawks, they show that, hey, this is our potential. Look at how far we got, and this is our first year in the playoffs. Let's see if we can do this again next year, and if not, go to the finals this time. So I think next season, the expectation is going to be finals, but me personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I think maybe second round again. I think second round, they'll go second round again, depending on who else is playing, who else they're playing in the first round. But I think teams are finally going to find a way how to step up to Trae Young, because Drew Holiday showed the recipe on how to stop Trae Young. The Bucks honestly did show, whether he was hobbled or not, they showed that to beat the Hawks, you have to force Trae Young to either be a scorer or a passer. Because if you let him score like 40 points, his playmaking not going to be there, and that's honestly what is a key part of his game. And when they win, especially when they win big time, when he gets the 10+ assists, if the teams can limit him down to like probably 5 assists or less than that, then there's a good shape that they're going to win the game, because no one else on the Hawks team can really play make. They're all just shooting him. Trae Young, they go, how far Trae Young takes them. I think Bogdanovich's going to take a next step as a number 2. DeAndre Hunter, you already talked about him. A name who I think is going to be big next season is Cam Reddish. Coming into when Cam Reddish got drafted alongside his college teammates, RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson, a lot of them predicted him to be the best one out of the 4 from Duke. And we saw in Game 6 when he made some timely threes. I think he was 6 for 7 from 3 at one point. So I think just him gaining confidence after that injury, it's going to do wonders for that team. So now we have the finals are set. No, and if you were to say this at the beginning of the season, I'm pretty sure no one would ever guess this. The Bucks maybe, but the Suns no. What's up, Prabhat?
Oh, my mic was muted, my bad. But I don't know if y'all saw, there was a guy who sent out a tweet like 5 years ago, and he predicted it. He predicted a Suns-Bucks finals in like 2016.
I did see that.
That is, I don't know how people do that. So I don't know if anybody would have predicted it this year, but that guy did it 5 years ago. So shout out to him.
Shout out to that guy. So before we go into like any in-depth like discussion of this, we're gonna play we're gonna do like a little storylines in here. So where does Chris Paul rank all time in the point guard discussion now that he got his team to his first NBA Finals? Did he crack the top 5?
All right.
I think he cracks the top 5.
I would say,
I think he's 5 or 6.
yeah, I think I would have him 6, honestly. And this is where I put him. I would say you got Magic, Curry, Oscar, those guys. I don't really think you have to dispute that one. And then personally, I like John Stockton better than Isaiah Thomas. I know Isaiah Thomas has more rings to back it up, but I think he also had a better team around him for the most part. But still, I've got Thomas 4. But I would argue Stockton is still better. From a greatness standpoint, like all time, like Stockton's career is done. Everything he's done, I would say he's done more. Because he's been to 2 finals, and I know he lost both of them. So obviously if Chris Paul wins this one, that changes a lot. And he can't be below Stockton anymore. But right now, I would say he's 6 because it would be Magic, Curry, Oscar, Zeke, and then Stockton, and then Chris Paul. That's me.
I like him in the top 5. I think he's earned it. I think what's helped him in my eyes is that every team he goes to, he wins. No one expected the Thunder to win. They almost beat the Rockets in the first round. No one expected the Suns to get to the finals with him. First year, they seem to be like the most well-built team. So I like him top 5. I don't know exactly where. I say 4 or 5 for me.
I like those takes. Same. I think he's top 5. I mean, generational point guard, the definition of a floor general, and a player who could take over in the fourth quarter. Chris Paul honestly can do it all. He's a 6-foot assassin. He knows pace, he knows tempo, when to turn it up, when not to turn it up, when to pass, when not to pass. You want to talk about defending? Dude's one of the best on-ball defenders, off-ball defenders, sneak into the lane, get a steal. I think Chris Paul, like you said, Michael, wherever he goes, he wins. And that takes credit to your legacy, especially the OKC year. They honestly, if you think about it, they sent him to Oklahoma City, like, not to die, but for his career to die. That was supposed to be a lose-lose situation right there. But me personally, I would put him in – I'd have him top 5. Right now, I'd have him probably 4 just because he doesn't have that ring, or 5 just because he doesn't have that ring yet compared to everyone else. So once he gets that ring, then I think he'll crack the top 3. But as of right now, he's top 5 just because he didn't have that ring yet.
That's fair.
Can DeAndre Ayton play big one more time in this series, in this finals? We've seen him dominate against Andre Drummond, a hobbled Anthony Davis,
Jokic,
and Capella. No, not Capella, that's the East. Who's on the West? Who's the center from the West in the conference finals? Zubac,
yeah.
What do you guys think? Can he do it one more time? Can he dominate inside?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I mean, he has to. I don't think it's like – I don't think he's playing big anymore, really. I think he's just, like, playing his game. Like, I think he's just good. Like, he's like that now. I think Chris Paul, like, whatever team Chris Paul's on, the centers, like, it looks like their ability, like, tenfold. It gets so much better just because he knows how to, like, utilize their strengths. But DeAndre Ayton is, like, he's, like, the guy now. So, I mean – I think he can.
Yeah, he's been doing it all playoffs. This has been his best year as a professional, obviously. And then, yeah, playing with Chris Paul, whenever you've got that guy on the court, you're going to be playing good basketball. And the big thing, he's just shooting efficiently. Like, he's not forcing anything. He's just playing his role. And then when he shoots, he makes it count. He's just playing the best basketball he can, honestly. So, in terms, if you're saying play big in terms of coming up big and being there for the Suns when they need it, absolutely. I know Brook Lopez is, I guess you could argue he'll probably be his toughest matchup so far defensively this playoffs. I guess you could say, like, I guess he'll give him the biggest threat scoring the ball, like for Ayton to score the ball. But, I mean, Brook Lopez is a guy you've got to respect too. He's shown that when Giannis was out, like we talked about earlier, he can step up. So that's someone that DeAndre Ayton can't take lightly. I think both of those guys are going to have really good series. But if I had to pick one, I think Ayton's going to get the edge of him. He's going to get the edge. And, like I said, when Chris Paul's there, it's easy to look good and play good basketball.
I'm on the complete opposite side of the spectrum from you guys. I'm taking Big Brook. I think Big Brook is gonna cause problems, like you said, Prabhat. It's gonna be his most difficult challenge, I think, because if you look at who he's played, like I just stated, Howard Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, who is not offensively sounded, Jokic, who isn't athletic. He's shifty, he's finesse, but he's not. Well, even then, Jokic was still putting up numbers on Ayton, dropping 25-point triple doubles on him. He just didn't have help. Zubac had a pretty good series as well. It's just he wasn't. Nah, I can't really say, but Zubac had a pretty good series on him as well, getting rebounds and scoring points. I want to say he had quite a few double doubles in that 6-game series. But I think Brook Lopez, the thing that separates him from all the other players is Jokic can do this as well, but is his ability to shoot the three, to stretch the floor, because he's a viable 3-point threat. Like, you have to step out to guard him, and even if you do, he's still able to make that three if you're on him. So I think pulling Ayton away from the paint is going to cause a lot of trouble, especially like how we just saw in game 6 against the Hawks. Look how much the floor opened up with the lanes, with Drew Holiday, with Chris Middleton driving to the basket, Jeff Teague going to the basket. I think it's going to cause problems. I think, and also Brook Lopez has been in this league for quite a long time. He knows the ins and outs of this game. He knows how to pick and choose his spots, especially inside the paint when that was his bread and butter. And Brook Lopez is no slack on defense either. Second team all defense. Dude can play amongst the best at the center position. He's not athletic like a DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton's younger and of course has more speed on him, but I think that veteran presence and knowing when to pick and choose the spots and the little knickknacks to it is going to play a big part in it. So let's go to the other first time young guy. How will Devin Booker perform in his first finals? Are we have high expectations? What are we predicting?
I have high expectations. I mean, I see him as he's like the number one option on that team. Of course it's Chris Paul and him, but he's the number one offensive option. When they need a bucket, they go to him. So I have high expectations. He's played against some good defenders already this playoffs. He played against, Paul George didn't guard him the whole time, but he was on him sometimes. I imagine it'll be probably Chris Middleton on him, or PJ Tucker maybe actually. But this one's going to be the toughest, I think, just because of what's the finals. But I have high expectations. I think he knows how to get to his spots. I think he knows like what he needs to do. I think he's getting better at not forcing so many shots. He kind of understands that Chris Paul can do some of the load. DeAndre Ayton can do some of it. So I think he'll play well.
Yeah, he's been showing it all playoffs. He hasn't shied away from the moment. He had his first career triple-double this playoffs, and it was like a 40-point one. So no reason to believe that he won't show up. He's been exceptional, not just the playoffs, but all year. And he's shown that he's not afraid of the moment. So I think he should, by everything we've seen to this point, he should have a good finals. But it is the NBA Finals. It's the biggest stage in basketball. And sometimes people do succumb to the pressure. I don't think he's going to have a horrible series, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a few games, if he had 1 or 2 games where he struggled or he just couldn't get it going, because that's just how it goes sometimes. I think every superstar has had that moment. So, it's just going to be growing pains. And now the fact that we have fans back in the stadium, it's going to be like a real NBA Finals atmosphere, which I think all NBA fans are happy and excited about. So overall, I think he'll do good, but I think the nerves will set in maybe for a game or two.
I agree with you, Prabhat. Yeah, I think nerves are going to play a factor in it, especially the game one. I think instead of letting the game come to him, he's going to force quite a few shots, whether it be the pull-up, whether it be the three-point shot, whether it be driving to the basket. And I think especially if he doesn't get his calls, that's where you're going to see the frustration. You're going to see that take over. But I also do expect him to play great because he is a descendant of the Mamba mentality. I think he's gonna live the moment. He's gonna play in the moment, and I think that's gonna benefit him in the end. So I do expect him to struggle in the beginning. But as soon as the nerves calm down, as soon as I would say Chris Paul is gonna take him to the side and just tell him, "Young fella, relax. We're good. 7-game series. Mistakes are gonna be made." But as long as we can cut them down and you can still find a way to be effective, if your shot's not going, then hey, we got a chance here. So I have high expectations for Devin Booker. I think this is for sure a legacy. This is a legacy trip for anyone, but for him especially because he's been on the Suns the longest, and to say that he was there, a part of that team to bring them the first finals. Arguably, you could say he's in the discussion for greatest Suns player of all time, because Steve Nash never was able to get them there, even though he did bring them two MVPs. But I think being able to get to the finals, and if you're able to ball out and bring home that first finals, for sure in the discussion for greatest Suns player of all time.
And don't forget about Chuck either. Chuck was an MVP with the Suns too.
Yep. So I think he's top 5 for sure already, Suns players of all time.
Yeah. I think right now it's Charles. I think Chuck is first right now and then Nash.
Yeah. No, I would say Steve Nash just because longevity wise.
Yeah, he was there longer.
I think it's the two of them.
Chuck got them there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And MVP. So it pick and choose who you want, but hey, I think Devin Booker has a possibility at 26 years old can be the greatest Suns player of all time if he gets this trophy.
Definitely.
Now let's take it to the coaches aspect. Which coach needs this more? Monty Williams or Mike Budenholzer?
I think it's an easy one. It's got to be Bud. Monty Williams has already done what he's needed to do. He went 8-0 with the Suns in the bubble, and then they're still a young team. Outside of Chris Paul, they're very young. So getting them to this point after going 8-0, most people wouldn't have been like, "Oh, that's enough to get you to a finals." But he did it, and it didn't even take him a year. Just 1 year later, and they're here in the NBA Finals with all these young guys, and obviously the addition of Chris Paul. I think Monty Williams has already done enough for himself, and I think people are respecting him now. On the other hand, you have Budenholzer, and Budenholzer has been under a lot of talks. There's been a lot of discussion about Budenholzer and what he's going to be doing as a coach next year. So we don't even know if he's going to be staying with the Bucks, honestly. We have no idea. So I think it has to be Bud because honestly, a win here could determine if he's going to get another job or not. I would say it's Bud by a good amount.
I can see both parts. I mean, I think there's also an argument for both. I think the obvious one is Budenholzer just because there was the hot seat talks. But I think getting to the finals kind of helps secure his job a little bit. But I think if we're talking just for job security, obviously Budenholzer needs to win more. But I think there is an argument for Monty Williams because he's been in the league a long time. He was with Chris Paul in New Orleans. It was his first playoff win, I think, the first time they got the one this year. So I think there's definitely an argument for Monty Williams. I think, of course, he's going to get more chances because he's younger and with a younger team. But I say both, I guess, in different aspects. If you're talking just if you want to be the coach next year, Budenholzer needs to win because there is the question mark. Monty Williams is definitely going to have the job next year still, but for his legacy, kind of, he needs the win.
Great take. Yep. I agree with that. I agree with everything you said. Monty Williams, he's been in the league for a while. He's been a part of some great coaching staffs. You got to look at that OKC team with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were still there. And then you look, he had Anthony Davis in New Orleans after Chris Paul left. He's had talent around him. It's just not being able to put it together. And I think now that he has a mature Chris Paul, he has two young. I'll go as far as call them superstars already. DeAndre Ayton is playing like a bona fide superstar. Devin Booker's already coming. We've all known about Devin Booker, but now he's stamping it that, yep, I'm that guy now. So I think Monty Williams, he has more time and more to work with just because of age. But not really because Chris Paul, it depends on what they're going to do with the whole Chris Paul situation at the end of the season. Because Chris Paul can opt out and gain a 3-year, $100 million contract if he chooses. And that depends on if Phoenix wants to pay him that money. Because they have an extra year they can add on it as well, unlike other teams. So Monty Williams, he has more time because he has two young superstars. Mike Budenholzer, I think he's on the hot seat for sure. He needs this for sure because if they don't win the finals, I think I don't know if they go to the extreme to fire him, but for sure next year is a do or die season because that's 3 straight years he's gone to the playoffs. He's disappointed badly. Hasn't been able to make adjustments all too well. Hasn't been able to get players to play the best of their abilities when they need it most. So I think Mike Budenholzer, he needs it more just for, like you said, job security. And who knows if Mike Budenholzer will have another great team if he does get fired after this with the Bucks. If he does get fired with the Bucks. So we're also going to go another one. Who needs this title more, Giannis or CP3?
I think this is. I mean, you can kind of make the argument for the same things again. I think CP3 is he's kind of the Budenholzer in this. Not like he's going to lose his job, but he's older than Giannis. He's had more opportunities to get it, and this is his first finals. So, I mean, for his legacy, like we were talking about, if he wants to, I mean, of course it's not on his mind, but if he wants to be ranked among like the 3 greatest point guards, he needs to win this. And for Giannis, it's the same thing as just the whole Bucks. They've got to every step of the playoffs so far: first round, second round, third conference finals, and now the finals. If they lose this one, like you said, Jesse, next year they have to win it, or they have to talk about just like kind of blowing it up, like the whole team pretty much. You just keep Giannis and Middleton maybe, and just get rid of everyone else. But just for this year, I think Chris Paul needs it more just because, I mean, like, it could be his last chance in the finals. We don't know what's going to happen next year.
Well, the way I look at it is, on one hand, you've got a guy whose legacy is going to put him among one of the history's best if he gets it. And then you've got another young guy who's been trying to win. He's never been to a finals, but he's been trying. I think you could kind of, obviously I'm not comparing their play styles, but I think you could kind of compare it to like LeBron when he struggled with the Celtics and just getting out of the East, and now he's finally here. So I think Giannis has a lot to prove too, the 2-time MVP, as we know. There's a lot riding on the line for him, but between these two, man, I think you could honestly go either way. I don't think there's a right answer. They both have so much to prove, but I would say the big thing is the difference is that people are going to respect Chris Paul win or loss for getting his team here. Now, I think if Giannis loses, people are going to say that he can't win. People are going to say that he doesn't have that killer gene that people like to talk about. So if we're just going from a narrative standpoint, I would say Giannis, but overall, he has time. He can still do it. Chris Paul is on the tail end of his career. So I think it's really up to perspective. But I would say in this moment, it'd probably be Giannis. But from a holistic standpoint, you've got to go Chris Paul.
I'm honestly with Giannis. I think Giannis needs this title way more than Chris Paul. Chris Paul, he's done it all already besides winning that finals trophy and an MVP. He's played at MVP level. In my opinion, before I think he was the MVP this season, and I'll say that due to the fact that look at what he did. Look at how far he brought a non-playoff team to now. Look at where they at, and and I'm not gonna say it's just because of him, but he played a great factor. And what he did in OKC last season was just a testament of what he's doing right now. It was just a preview. You give him some type of talent, he's gonna have that LeBron type effect. He's gonna make everyone around him better. So I think from Chris Paul's point of view, there's nothing that I think that Chris Paul can do that can tarnish his legacy, like amongst us, like in the way that we view him. Chris Paul's already solidified as I would say this generation, the 2000s generation's greatest point guard, the greatest point guard of that generation, without a doubt. And I think gold medalist, all-star MVP. He just hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs. Regular season, we've seen all of that. But Giannis, on the other hand, who is a two-time MVP, one-time Defensive Player of the Year, the one who crowned himself the best player in the league. I think all the pressure's on him. He's in Milwaukee. He's in a small market team. He's a big fish in a small market team. He has all the cameras on him. He has everything. Everything is on him. He had the Michael Jordan comparisons for a while, which I thought was preposterous. I didn't understand that at all when they had totally different games. He has a 2K cover. Giannis has it all. It's just I think he's in that how you brought up LeBron. He's in that scenario right now where he is amongst the best players in the league. It's just getting over that hump, and until he can get that stain off of him, I won't call it a stain per se, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. Like
it's holding him
once
back.
He can get that, yeah. Once he can get that chip off his shoulder, that he's a champion now. We're all gonna still look at him like you still haven't won a championship. Whereas I don't really see that with Chris Paul. I don't have that type of feeling with Chris Paul. So I think Giannis has more riding on him to win a championship just because he is a generational talent. No, the Greek freak, 7 foot tall, can run like a deer, 2 strides to the free throw to the basket. So I think it's all on Giannis. It's all on Giannis to win it. If he plays. That's if he plays. And to our last segment, what are the X factors for this series?
I mean, you can make an argument that anyone is the X factor. So I'm only going to pick one because you could really highlight anybody. But I'm going to go with arguably the most experienced player in this series, the only one who's been to a finals, Jay Crowder. Because I think he's going to be the number one guy to guard Giannis. I mean, if Giannis plays. But he's going to be the guy to guard Giannis. He did it last year with Miami, so he kind of knows what to do. They had Bam there, who's a great defensive player also. So they were able to kind of switch on and off. But I think Jay Crowder is going to be huge on defense. And he's not a pushover on offense either. He gets his buckets. He makes threes. So I'm going Jay Crowder.
I like that. Oof. I was gonna say Middleton, but now I feel like I need to come up with something else because I was kind of out there. But I'm just gonna keep it simple. I think I'm gonna go with Middleton. What he's showed me, or I mean the NBA, he doesn't have to show anything to me. What he showed the NBA the last, what he showed the NBA the last 2.5, 3 years in the playoffs has been ridiculous. I think you could argue he's been an all-star snub multiple times. He stepped up again when Giannis was out. And I know it's cliche to say the number 2 option is going to be the X factor, but when they're zeroing in on Giannis, I think this series is really just going to come down to, is Chris Middleton going to make the shots? Because if he's going to do that, I don't think they can beat the Bucks. That's just me. And that's what being an X factor is all about. When your star player, when your key components of your offense or team are being shut down, you need to find another scapegoat. And if Chris Middleton can be that guy, which I think he absolutely will be, I think he's ready for the moment. He's got to be the X factor, and I think this is his time to be the Pippen to the Jordan, the Kyrie to the Braun. Actually, I don't even want to say Kyrie. The Wade to the Braun. I don't like Kyrie. You guys get what I'm saying. He's got to be that guy, and I think he will do it.
I'm going with this player who's been a pest this entire playoffs from round 1 all the way until now. He's been stepping up when the big injury came. He stepped up big for Phoenix.
I was going to go with this guy.
I'm going with Cameron Payne, the lefty. I think that speed is just something else. It's De'Aaron Fox like. It's quick. You better be there in front of him, because if not, he's gonna blow right past you. I don't know who on the because I don't think Jeff Teague has the speed to stick up to him.
He's an old man.
I think the only one who is able to stay in front of Campaign is possibly Drew Holiday, and that's just being physical with them. But either way, Campaign, what he's shown this postseason, that he could shoot too, and deep. He could shoot deep.
He has a weird form, but it goes in.
It goes in. He's shown he's not afraid to drive to the basket. He has that. He's playing with that chip on his shoulder, because that Bulls GM or whoever said that, after the second practice, I don't even know how he can play in the league. He can't play basketball. I think him proving that person wrong and then proving everyone else wrong who doubted him, because before this, not many people knew they only knew Campaign because of those dance videos with Russell Westbrook. He was you gotta take a perspective. He was the original John Morant, not in a hype way, but being that point guard from Murray State. He paved the way for John Morant at Murray State. So Campaign, you did my Lakers dirty, so I gotta go with you, man. You balled out this whole postseason, so I think he's gonna keep doing it one more time.
That's a good pick, Jesse. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I didn't go with Middleton, I was going with him.
Man. And with that being said, we're gonna tune out for today's episode. We'll catch you guys again on Wednesday. Have a good one.